Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak. Today, I'm going to be joined by Lyss Houde, who you see on the screen right now, and Jacob Stoller from Sportsnet.ca. He will be joining us like the past couple episodes. A few technical difficulties off the top here, but we will get those sorted out. And we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a jam-packed show today. The Jets are on an 8-game winning streak on an absolute heater. We're going to break it all down, starting with that 4-3 win over the Islanders on Friday, running through the whole 8-game winning streak. We also had some reports this week that the Jets are interested in Scott Laughton from the Philadelphia Flyers. We had a report from Elliot Freeman that the Jets might look to work on contracts over the break. So we've got a lot to talk about. And of course, it is the Four Nations this week. As the number one fan of the Four Nations, you know we're going to be breaking it all down. So we've got a fun show today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for putting up with the late start here. Didn't start till 9:05. But Lyss, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing super well. I'm super stoked to talk about all this stuff. You know me, I like talking bigger picture stuff sometimes. Obviously, I'll talk about any game for any period of time if we want, but I like talking about the bigger picture of things. I will give a bit of a disclaimer to everyone. I do sound a little bit different today. I apologize. I kind of lost my voice a little bit yesterday, battling a bit of a cold. My brother's last college volleyball game yesterday, and I was head coach of my hockey team yesterday, so lots of yelling. Not a good combo, but I am here. My brain is locked in. Maybe my vocal cords aren't, but we're here to chat, and so the three of us are going to have a good show today.
Exactly. We're gonna you're gonna power through. That's
Oh, yeah.
everyone's dealing with something this time of year. You know, it's the break and everyone's healing up, right? Yeah, let's dive right into it. Jacob's gonna join us in just a second here. But let's start with Friday list. The Jets pick up a 4-3 win, eight straight wins. That ties a franchise record long winning streak. And they're going to have a chance to break that in 2 weeks when they get going again on February 22nd against the St. Louis Blues. But what were your kind of blanket thoughts of the game on Friday, the 4-3 win over the Islanders?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go bigger picture with this one too.
Go for
But
it.
I think it's so funny how, at the beginning of the season, I was like, I wonder if the Winnipeg Jets are finally going to get over kind of the little brother complex in the sense of like people are talking about them. People are talking about the Winnipeg Jets. And this has been one of the quietest 8-game winning streaks I've seen in the NHL in a long time. This is as long of a winning streak as they had earlier in the season. I get it now in the sense that 31 other teams have a lot of storylines going on at this point in the season too. Early when the season's starting off, we don't have a lot of like big things necessarily going on for everybody yet. And now we're starting to get into trade deadline talk, which everybody is involved in and all those different things. But like 8 games is nothing to snuff at, dude. Like that's what we were freaking out about and wanting to build statues about in October. Like this is
Yeah.
a really, really good thing. And they've been doing it without Adam Lowry. There hasn't been a lot of conversation around that either. I'm sure a lot of people are, thinking about it, realizing it because you look at the lines
Right.
out there and you're like, these are a bit goofy. But they've been doing it without Adam Lowry. He's one of their higher impact players as well. And there's been some depth scoring involved in this. The top line hasn't been playing exactly like they were in December. A lot of really good things to like about this 8-game winning streak so far. And that, Friday game was kind of just another tally to me. It wasn't like it was some crazy dominant performance for the Winnipeg Jets, but they came out and scored goals when they had to score goals, and they were able to contain when they weren't scoring goals. And that's what you need from this team. It's not a very in-depth or insightful thing to say, but it's nice to see different types of wins over the course of an 8-game streak like that. And that was another game that it maybe wasn't the most dominant in those 8 games, but a win's a win. And I was happy with the performance that they put together against a very, very, very desperate New York Islanders team.
Yep, I have to agree. And there were a few games in this 8-game winning streak against desperate opponents. There are a few games in this 8-game winning streak against true contenders. There are a few wins in this winning streak against teams that were red hot recently, like the Montreal Canadiens. You might look at that in the 8-game winning streak and be like, eh. But coming into that game, the Canadiens were one of the best teams in the league over the last month. New York Islanders had won 8 of their last 9, and then they ran into the Winnipeg Jets. That's just what is happening recently. And that game on Friday night, I do just want to say, first period, Scott Arniel mentioned, not a great start. The second period was one of the best periods I think the Jets have played all season long. They scored 3 unanswered goals. They absolutely rolled the Islanders. The puck was down in that end basically the entire period. And then the third period was all Connor Hellebuyck. Jacob was in the post-game media after the game. I had to bolt right when the game ended, but he asked Scott Arniel this question, and then we'll bring Jacob in and he can, dive into it further. He asked Scott Arniel that there's this perception out there that Winnipeg is just Connor Hellebuyck. And I feel like now during an 8-game winning streak is a good time to ask Scott O'Neill about that and all the different ways that they've won, not only this season, but on this 8-game winning streak. Jacob asked Scott O'Neill after the game. Here's what he had to say.
I think that's 56 games. I think we've found ways to get people, different contributions from different people, and whether that's individual players, whether that's lines, defense partners, whether that's our specialty teams, pulling our goalie, winning late, winning in overtime. I'd like to think we're a pretty well-rounded team, and that's part of what our group, I think, can be, pretty excited about, that we on different nights, different people step up. And for me, you need extremely strong goaltending to win in this league. We obviously know what we have there, but the biggest thing is how much of a contribution we're getting from everybody. We had a ton of injuries to our defense. We had people step up our depth. Look at what's happening right now with Morgan and with Adam and Morgan out. A lot of guys have stepped up. So that's the stuff that I see. That's why we're more of a team than maybe some people think we are.
Hello?
So there it is, Scott O'Neill.
Oh my gosh.
Jacob,
Whoa.
you're here. We can hear you.
2 holes in one. What's up?
How you doing?
Good, man. How about you guys?
Good. So we just kind of teed up Scott O'Neill there for the question that you asked him about the perception that Winnipeg is just Connor Hellebuyck and they're just this great goaltender. But I was just saying how Friday night I thought was a good example of, yes, Connor Hellebuyck maybe stole the game in the third period, but the second period, the Jets absolutely rolled the Islanders. Like, they were all over them. So maybe they're overcoming that a little bit with this 8-game winning streak. What have you kind of seen from the game Friday night and the 8-game winning streak in total?
Trying to say what O'Neill said. I think it's been 56 games, but
yeah,
no, I don't think. I will say that I think the origin of this question was in Washington. Someone asked him a question along the lines of the value of Hellebuyck. I don't know how it was phrased exactly because you can't really hear it on the online, the audio or whatever. But that's a sick tarp, Connor. But
Thank you. Don't tell the people in chat it's McDavid. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I won't.
It's not a Morrissey jersey. It's Connor McDavid. But go ahead.
Well, you announced it. The question was phrased about how this team is something with Hellebuyck, and he just said will that be a disservice to our team? We're more than just Hellebuyck, and I just think that for a while that narrative was kind of true. So I think that I don't blame a lot of people.
Yeah.
For a long time, Connor Hellebuyck was the only thing dragging this team from mushy middle, maybe not making.
I was there in 2021. Where were you guys? I was there. I'm still there.
Yeah, he was dragging them into the fight, single-handedly almost. The defense was atrocious. So it's fair for people to latch onto that, but they have the best offense in the league statistically. Recently as well, I think that their 5-on-5 chances have improved. I don't know what exactly numbers be, but I think it was after the Calgary game where O'Neill kind of set the first Calgary game at home, how they need to get to the inside more. I think that they've done that. Alex Iafallo leading the charge there as well. So this is a well-oiled machine, and this is before we've even seen the deadline ads. So yeah, I think calling them just Hellebuyck and Co. is kind of outdated.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, you brought up the numbers there. I went and dove into the numbers since Christmas, because Christmas till the break, I thought, is usually the time the Jets, maybe fly high a little bit and then start to dwindle and have that second half slump that we've seen almost year after year now. But they went 14-4-2 from Christmas until this break. And once that game ended Friday night, here's what some of their league-wide numbers were. 14 wins was second best in the league. They had the best goal differential over that time, plus 24. Their 5-on-5 goal share was best in the league at 63.5%. Their expected goals percentage was 55.5%, which was fifth best in the league. Their high danger chances percentage was 58%, which was second best in the league. And obviously their power play, 36.6% from Christmas till the All-Star break. Obviously best in the league. Still would be the best in NHL history if it held. So there's been these winning streaks this year, right? You start the year 15-1. There's an 8-gamer and a 7-gamer in there. Jacob, you brought it up on WST Sunday Live. The first couple were okay, they're winning kind of in spite of the top line. Connor Hellebuyck's bailing them out. Then they lose that game to Toronto and go on a run where they're actually beating good teams and deserving to do it. Lyss, was this 8-game winning streak closer to them actually deserving to do it, or more of the first 8 games or first 7 or 8 games of the season where it was kind of in spite of some players and mostly Connor Hellebuyck? I would lean towards they deserved it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think kind of like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think a lot of the wins were different in this win streak. It wasn't like there were 8 of the exact same games that kind of happened. But I think the issue, and people will talk about this sometimes where it's like, okay, Connor Hellebuyck's also on the team. Like, we shouldn't be, necessarily treating him like he's some god. Like, he comes in, he gets paid to play a good hockey game and play to his potential every single night, just the same way that everybody else does. He just does that more frequently than maybe some other people. And also, like, I just think it's important to acknowledge that his potential and what his potential has an impact on a game is a lot higher than maybe some other people's. And he was being asked to play 110% of his potential 82 games a year kind of thing back a few years ago. Now it's obviously a little bit, it's not full 82 games, but he's doesn't need to be at 110% every single game, but then he still can be certain games. He'll have a 70% game and they'll still win because they can score 6 goals, and that's okay. But yeah, in this stretch, maybe there were a couple games where he did perform a little bit higher, but that's kind of just the norm with this guy. And I don't think I fall into the Scott O'Neill camp as well, where I'm like, I don't feel like it's the only thing I want to talk about, because I'm like, there are so many other players that are also on this team and punching above their weight class in certain scenarios as well. So this 8-game win streak, I feel like, it gives me more shades of November. I'm not in full December mode because there were a lot of games well, actually December wasn't great. Maybe I shouldn't say December. I'm thinking of
early December. Yeah.
Like, I think there is definitely a lot of good games against Utah in this stretch. I think was a really good game, and a couple of different ones. Game against Montreal was an awesome game. Game against Boston was super fun, right? Like, there are a couple of really good ones. So I think that it's not a full Connor Hellebuyck bailout, but that's just because I know exactly what a full Connor Hellebuyck bailout looks like, because I was there during the pandemic and I saw exactly what happened for 2 seasons there. So I know what that looks like, and that's not this.
Yeah, I have to agree. And Jacob, I'll just ask you, because I think he's been one of the biggest reasons for this Jets 8-game winning streak, because his last 7 games, he has 8 points. But Cole Perfetti is all the way back. What have you seen from him over this 8-game winning streak? 8 points in 7 games.
Cole Perfetti is one of the reasons why they're on an 8-game heater.
Yeah, he's playing great.
He's playing great, yeah, but everyone's playing great. Okay, here's my thing on Perfetti. He's looked really good. He's looked really good.
Okay.
I'm pulling your leg. Perfetti's looked good. Since saying he wants to be a prick, he's played some great hockey.
Played like a prick.
The most encouraging part is that there seems to be some sort of chemistry there with Ehlers. And I never thought we would see that.
Thank God.
Yeah, like, I never thought we would. Like, that seems so out of the realm of possibility. And to me, with Perfetti, it's like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but at the beginning of the year, the biggest gripe I found was the second and third efforts just weren't there. Like, on plays, it just wasn't there. And I don't know if that was him protecting himself from the fact he doesn't have an explosive skating stride and just trying to retreat back. Don't know what it is. But right now, he's on pucks and he's getting there a lot quicker. We all know he's an unbelievable passer. That pass to Ehlers was disgusting. That was so nice.
It was a hoper.
Yeah, it was nice. And listen, Vlad has been playing some of his best hockey recently as well. But what I will say is it'd be really cool to get a second line center to play between Perfetti and Ehlers.
Yeah, and we will discuss that later on, like some options maybe, and whether or not you think Scott Lawton could be the answer there. We will get into that. Well, okay. We'll talk
I want to say something though about that
sure.
second line center thing and everything. Like, in the Carolina game in particular earlier this week, there were some moments where, we talk about trade deadline acquisitions, we talk about trade deadline goalies, and how oftentimes if you trade for a big starting goaltender at the trade deadline, it doesn't often work out because the relationship that your goaltender has with your defenseman is so important in the way that they communicate. And you need to have that kind of chemistry built up, and it's really hard to build that really quickly. And we saw kind of last year with the Winnipeg Jets, Sean Monahan, Tyler Toffoli, there were some things that it was clicking on, some things not so much, whatever. But that Carolina game, I was like, okay, this team is really, really, really in sync. Like there is a lot that they are doing where it's like you can tell that they are on the same page with a lot of things. And that would be my fear with the whole second line center thing. Cause it's like Perfetti and Ehlers, like they just weren't on the same page for a really long time. And that's what's happening right now is that they're starting to get a little bit more in I can't speak. They're starting to play a little bit more simpatico, right? Like there's a little bit more just kind of wavelength matching. It's a very non-technical thing to say, but I would be curious to see what an external upgrade would look like, just because I think this team right now has spent so much time as a unit and there's such a tight-knit group. I don't know if they go out to the bar together on Fridays, but like they spend a lot of time together, right? Like they have been for many, many years. They're a close group of coworkers. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what the move is there, because bringing in an external party, if they can't match the vibe in the same way that these guys are kind of picking up, it's going to be difficult to kind of integrate that to full impact.
But Lyss, if you have such a strong workplace, you have the perfect situation to bring someone in.
Yes, no, I do. And I hope that's what it is, but it's like that's kind of what
I understand that part, but I just think that...
but that's kind of what happened with Perfetti, though, right? Is that he was brought in, not in the same way, it's not an acquisition, but it is still a guy who hasn't been around Scheifele and Connor and Ehlers and Morrissey for as long as they've been together. And it's taken him some time, I think, to kind of understand who he's playing with and get on the same level of them, like communication wise. And it'll be interesting to see if they can bring someone in and get them integrated that quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I think like where I'm at with that is I see Vlad, Ehlers, and Perfetti becoming or getting that chemistry is encouraging, but I think that you're really, really you're on thin ice if you're going to the playoffs, which is that as the only option for your second line center.
Okay, here's my question.
Second line.
No, then here's my question. We talked about this months ago with not months ago, weeks ago, pre-Lowry injury. You are convinced that they will never, ever play Lowry and Perfetti together for line matching purposes. But does Lowry come in and slide into that could he play with the two of them, do you think?
Am I allowed to discuss the Scott Laughton thing, or do I have to wait?
Let's do it. Okay, so let me just tee it up for people. Let me tee it up for people that maybe didn't see it. Anthony DeMarco, Daily Faceoff writer, covers the Flyers, very trustworthy when it comes to Flyers news, says that the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs are reportedly interested in Scott Laughton. Let me get the exact quote here. He tweeted out, "Sounds like trade talks are heating up around Flyer center Scott Laughton. Sources indicate the Leafs and the Jets are two of the teams who have shown the most interest, but handful of teams are in the mix." So it's rumor season. The Jets have been linked to a center, Scott Laughton. For my money, more of a 3C than a 2C. Jacob, go ahead. For people.
So, if people remember, about last year or the year before, Scott Laughton could have gone for like a first, right? Like he was a huge lauded person. I think right now he'd be a good third line center. I think he'd be an excellent fourth line center. But, if you're looking at the Jets construction, he would probably be the replacement to Kupari on the Nino and Appleton line, assuming Lowry jumps up, is what I would say. That's what I would think. I don't know, though. I don't know if I still think because of trust and history, Arneal would rather have Lowry be on the shutdown line. That's where I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Unless Laughton replaces Gustafson, and they do I follow Laughton and Barron, which I'm here for as well.
Scott Laughton, to me, the way I sent both tweets to you guys, because Rasmus Ristolainen also missed the game, but that turned out to be injury related.
Yeah.
But I sent you guys both the tweets in our chat and said, this has Winnipeg written all over it, like a package for both. And then Laughton can be your 4C. Rasmus Ristolainen, who, Jacob, you've said the Jets have been linked to for a while, can be that top 4 right shot defenseman, big penalty killer, fill that role. And then maybe the Jets can go out and buy another center or another scoring winger closer to the deadline when they can maybe fit some more cap space in. I don't know. I'm with you that Scott Laughton, fine as maybe a 3C, 4C. I'm here for it. To think like, okay, if you think Adam Lowry is going to be the 2C and you want Scott Laughton to slide in behind that, sure. I still think they would need a little bit more. And I would like to see it as a package for Laughton and Ristolainen. Lyss, where are you at on Laughton and sort of that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe it goes back to my point earlier about like the chemistry thing and then the fit thing and all that
Yeah.
kind of more intangible stuff, for lack of better terms. Bringing in two guys from the same team could actually really help with that. And you can kind of bring in guys who are able to communicate together, like, okay, this is what we're thinking, and help each other out and support one another. Could be a nice fit. I want to kind of defend Rasmus Ristolainen for a minute here, where I know a lot of people are not super keen on that particular trade. And I just kind of have to say, I'm not going to sit here and be like Rasmus Ristolainen is perfect for the Winnipeg Jets, because I am not locked in on the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think a lot of people, though, when they think of Rasmus Ristolainen, they think of the pre-COVID Jay Fresh cards that would circulate on Twitter of him and Seth Jones and guys like that who are read all over the place. And like the lottery era Buffalo Sabres were garbage. Like, I understand that. I think
Yes.
Rasmus Ristolainen is a different player now than he was 5 years ago, and I think a lot of people are still putting a little bit too much stock into what they think he was quite some time ago. So I think we have a little bit more research to do on this player before, people can be like, he would be a horrible fit for the Winnipeg Jets. Scott Laughton, I think, kind of is what he is. I think we kind of know who that guy is and what he can provide to this team. The question is just, is that what you want, right? That was the Sean Monahan thing last year. It's like, I know what Sean Monahan can do. Is it the best use of the Winnipeg Jets first round pick? That was the conversation. It wasn't, is Sean Monahan a good player? Because we know that he is. So that's kind of what camp I fall in as well. But I think it's hard because right now in the regular season, I think of things like, I really like it when the Winnipeg Jets have options. I like when you can move puzzle pieces around, and I get that sort of thing. It's kind of like if you're running a tandem for goaltenders, it's like you have AHG games to sort of figure out what you like, what the good cadence is and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes playoff time, it's good to have that as like a backup plan. But what you want is, you want to have lines that you can run. You want to have guys that you can match. You want to have guys that you can play together and stuff like that. And the adaptability, versatility, and that sort of stuff, like, it matters. And I'm not articulating this as clearly as I'm thinking it in my head, but like, you want to have options that work. And okay, it's great to know that Lowry could play with Ehlers and Perfetti. It's great to know he could play with Appleton and Niederreiter. But what you need is for a game or 2 games or 3 games is for him to go out with 2 guys and be better than their opponents. And it's like, okay, what would that look like with Scott Laughton in that mix? I'm not sure. I know you have some options there, but I don't know. But then again, I've been wrong and convinced otherwise about different combinations with Winnipeg Jets forwards this year. So like, hey, who knows?
But the thing, I'm glad we're having the Rasmus Ristolainen conversation, because what we've heard that one of the Winnipeg Jets' biggest needs is, like, they're pretty locked in on the left side. Morrissey and Sandberg. I think we all can agree. Logan Stanley, maybe you could upgrade there at the deadline. Maybe Jamie Oleksiak is a name that's been thrown out there. Carson Soucy, Brian Dumoulin are all like veteran. Veteran, big left shot defenseman that wouldn't cost as much, could slide in on the third pair, right? The Rasmus Ristolainen thing, like, he is what the Winnipeg Jets need. I know people are going to roll their eyes because in Buffalo, he wasn't that great, but he is the decently puck moving, shutdown defenseman, stay at home defenseman, physical, 6'4" penalty killer that not only the Jets, that's what they, I think their needs are at the deadline and what we've heard, but I think that's what their deadline acquisition should be as well. Like, I know we don't want to analyze players by size. Even if Rasmus Ristolainen was 6'1", I think he's still a good shutdown defenseman at this stage in his career. And he's got 2 more years left at $5.1 million. So I
think they'd have to retain, though.
The Flyers would?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think the Jets should make them retain. I think for Philly, if they want to get the most value out of trading Ristolainen, they'd probably have to retain some money.
Okay. Which is interesting because he has 2 more years after this one. So, like, if they retained him down to $4.5 million, $4 million per season, with the cap going up, that cap hit really gets more and more affordable over the last 2 seasons of the deal.
And the amount of money that they're retaining is less and less of a burden.
True. Good point.
So I just think that, like, I'll be honest, I think was it CJ? Someone suggested that. And then I asked around about why, and it makes sense, is that, like, Philly moving Ristolainen, it has to be worth it for them. They like him. So if they want to get a certain type of asset back, they'd have to retain.
For sure. And Dom here is bringing up Ville Heinola, bubble player, not watching the games to think Ville is an upgrade. Jacob, you had a piece on Ville Heinola this week as well. And as we near the trade deadline, the Winnipeg Jets are carrying 8 defensemen right now. If they were to bring in a defenseman, they'd have to get rid of one somehow, right? You're not going to carry 9 defensemen unless it's after the deadline. That's when you can carry more players than just the 23 on your roster. But maybe just sum up for people what your piece said on Ville Heinola specifically heading into the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think that time to wave the white flag, folks. I think we're done here with Ville. I get the whole argument associated with why it's frustrating. Scott Arniel said he was his biggest fan, and then proceeds to he played with Colin Miller 2 games, Minnesota and LA, 2 games I thought were Ville, despite being slightly rusty, played great hockey, especially defensively. Yep. And then he plays with Stanley on the right side for a ridiculous amount of games, in and out of the lineup. It's just not working. Like it just they're not going to give him a chance. You need to liquidate the asset. That's where the Jets are at. And in a year where the Jets are going to be wheeling and dealing a lot of capital, recouping even a 5th round pick, guys, like just get anything. Like you need those bargaining chips. It's depressing, I know. There's no situation in which Ville Heinola is playing a playoff game. Let's say they run the roster they're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
Stanley gets hurt. Fleury would go in. Say Fleury gets hurt. Who do you think that they're putting in? Ville or Coghlan?
Oof. That's a good question. I lean towards
the fact you even have to think about it is the problem.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, my question is, Jacob, have you been watching Dylan Coghlan lately?
No. But the Jets seem to value what he's.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and also
I'm not. I wouldn't put those guys over Ville. I'm just saying that I don't think there's any situation right now where he goes into a playoff lineup, which is fine. But here's the
crazy thing for me to say. No, I'm cutting you off on that. This is a crazy me take. I don't even know if I'd put Ville Heinola in over those guys because he's not playing a game until he has to. At that point, he will have not played a game in like 4 months. I would take Dylan Coghlan over him too.
So now we've established the fact that he's not even an insurance policy. An insurance policy insinuates that when something happens, they slide in and can replace. Ville is not that. He's on an island of his own right now. Trade him. Like this is just getting silly. The fact that they've getting silly for Ville, if you want to say they've had him there. They could have recouped way more cap space. Not that it'll really matter. They've got lots, but still, this is ridiculous. Like, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change next year, guys. They're still going to want that size in the third pair. Nothing's going to change. It's fine. I don't even want to get into the whole debate of and I wrote about it in the article. Check it out. It's pretty dope. But I don't really think we need to all recoup the fact that, he was kind of shouted for opportunity. But move on. The Jets are about to go on a cup run. Every contending team gets to a crossroads with these prospects. You realize this guy ain't it, and you discard of him. Hopefully, you do it earlier than the Jets are right now. But whatever, I really do believe they thought that Ville could come in and contend for that spot that Sandberg took, and then maybe they thought Sandberg would be the third pair lefty. I don't know. But I think there was something there. That's why they did the 2-year deal. It's not working out. Move on.
I'm
going to call it right now. If he's traded, he's going to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Wow.
Great take. I like it. No, my 2 things I will say. One thing, again, I have been a Ville Heinola truther for many, many years. So if I'm saying this, that there has to be some level of validity to it. I understand we can timeline his whole trajectory and be like, wow, this was really unfortunate. But we often forget Dylan Sandberg broke his ankle in training camp 2 years ago. Yeah. And is now the second pairing defenseman for the Winnipeg Jets and one of the most important players on the team.
Great point, Lyss.
Injuries happen to people, and I can't use that as an only excuse. Yes, there have been so many moments, and yes, we could do the Logan Stanley comparison all we want, but at a certain point, there's a little bit of give and take that you have to have. And the other one is also just this whole concept of the sunk cost fallacy, where it's of course we can sit here and look revisionist and be okay, here are all these things that we could have done differently, whatever. It's at this point right now, like you said, they're going to win a Stanley Cup. Ville Heinola is not, even if he played every single game for the rest of the season with a perfect partner and whatever, it doesn't make sense for this configuration of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, you still want an upgrade.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Even if you still want an upgrade. I don't get I think like it's like just be gone with this. I don't get the point here. And also, better yet, about the who'd rather have, like Isaac Phillips they acquired too. So if you need a ninth defenseman,
Yeah.
you have enough. This is before you're even acquiring the guys now. They've got the depth. Just freaking move him. Like,
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
leave him. I don't care. Like, just get rid of it.
Yeah, which is like wild because you heard all the things about him being his biggest fan, and when Ville Heinola came back in and played those 2 games where he was rusty, like you said, Jacob, it was when there was injuries on the Jets blue line, and he maybe had a chance to step in, and then it was Hayden Fleury, and it was Logan Stanley was out of the lineup at that time and came back in. So
I think what Lyss said though is really important about how like Sandberg got injured and was able to overcome that. Now I want to make this clear. Opportunity is the biggest thing in the NHL, right? But also, like, if I learned one thing from watching Hard Knocks in the NFL, it's pro sports, the dog eat dog world. So Hayden Fleury comes in, he wins the spot. He's a better player. Like,
yeah,
sorry, like I just like there's not too much. Like I think if you want to get into a synopsis of the last 3 years and how it coulda, woulda, shoulda, I'm here for it. Like, I agree, and I bet you a lot of people in the Jets organization agree too. But it happened. So, like, if you're this upset about Ville, well, the Jets are like top in the NHL, could win a Stanley Cup. Touch grass. Well, there's no grass outside. Touch some snow. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I don't know. Honestly, what made me write the piece is I'm so sick of hearing about Ville in my mentions. So sick of it.
Yeah. But what if, Jacob,
Who cares? Lyss, I'm not even targeting you, but like, why does people care about this right now? Like, if the Jets were like in a different spot, I'm here for it. But like, let's talk trade deadline acquisitions, guys.
I think the thing is, right, it's like you rank it this way. It's like trade deadline acquisitions, I think, has to be like the number one priority in conversation, whatever. Like, I understand still bringing him into conversation when looking at that current internal use of the 6th defenseman spot there. Because
he should be playing more than Stanley sometimes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
No
so
doubt.
Like, that's why I'm okay with that in that sense. But yeah, like, let's be real. Like, I do believe, and I can't go back on my belief and my stance and my philosophy that, Stanley Cups can be won in spite of players, and it's not necessarily won because of everyone. Jack Johnson was playing NHL minutes on the Colorado Avalanche when they won the Stanley Cup. Like, you don't need to have 6 perfect defensemen and 12 perfect forwards to win a Stanley Cup. I don't think that at the end of the day, your bottom pairing left-handed defenseman should have such a big impact on your team that they make or break your Stanley Cup chances. But that being said, like, it's still, if you have options, what's your best option? And right now, I don't know how I feel about, I think the best option is Hayden Fleury, but I also don't know about that.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear where the fan frustration comes from because they're developing a 26-year-old in the third pair when Ville Heinola hasn't had the opportunity to develop like ever. And I do agree that when he's been in the lineup, he hasn't snatched the role. He hasn't taken it and run with it and given the Jets no option to sub him out of the lineup. But also, like, what, do they wait for Ville Heinola to turn 26 and then start saying he won't get better in the press box?
I'm telling you guys, though, neither of these two are playing in that spot in the playoffs.
I disagree. Logan Stanley's playing playoff games. We had this debate last week.
Yes, Nobody's not.
We had this debate like 2 episodes ago.
We did, yeah. I think the big thing with this, to kind of maybe, I don't know if it's necessarily put a pin in the conversation. I just think at this point, it's so important to talk about this in principle versus in practice, right? Like, in practice, really, like, it doesn't matter right now. Like, I think if you want to do this big thing where we talk about the Kovaceviches of the world and all these sorts of things, and you want to talk about behaviors and patterns, like, I have time for that every single day of the week, but it doesn't directly translate into practice to me, where it's like, oh, therefore, ergo, Ville Heinola must be playing NHL games right now and in the playoffs. No, I'm not here for that conversation necessarily, but like, I do have time for the in principle conversation, but in practice just looks differently right now at this time of the year and with where the Winnipeg Jets are at. And I think that's okay, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. That's a good point and a good place to wrap it. I do want to move on to the Elliotte Friedman report that we got this week. Again, this is more of a bigger picture topic, but it is definitely worth bringing up. In his 32 thoughts, Elliotte Friedman wrote this, quote, "Winnipeg will get down to contract business during the Four Nations break," which we are on right now. "During my brief trip to the Manitoba capital, the quote that struck me the most was from Dylan DeMello, who said, quote, "This is where I wanted to be. I love that management doubled down on what we have." Lyss, I'll start with you. Do you think we could see a Winnipeg Jets signing over the next 2 weeks? And if you had to pick a player who you think it's most likely to be, who would you pick?
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I definitely think a Dylan Sandberg extension is certainly possible.
Agreed.
I think this is a guy that, looks and sounds like he's really happy to be here, playing some of the best hockey of his career. I think it makes perfect sense for both of them to go really long term with this. I think, he's still a young guy. It could not pan out for him. I think he would be silly to think that he's going to, go and go to arbitration and end up making $4 million more than he would get right now, sort of thing. Like, he's still like pretty young. There are some similar shades to the Cole Perfetti conversation we had from earlier this year, where it's like there's still a lot left to learn about the guy. Like, he doesn't have a huge sample or anything like that. But then also from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, this is a guy that you want to lock down right now. Like, this is a guy who is going to be super important to this team, who likes being here. Like, I think it makes sense for everyone to look at a long-term deal for this guy, and I think he'd be open to having this conversation right now. Other than that, not sure if we see it. I think the next closest option would maybe be Gabe Vilardi. I don't think we see an IFLO deal. I don't think we see an Ehlers deal. I don't think we see an Appleton deal. I think he's also coming up.
I think you'll see an Appleton deal.
Yeah.
I could see that, guys.
Okay.
Like, I think that a Sandberg extension is complicated. Let me just interject here, Lyss. I think that it's a bit different than Perfetti, because Perfetti's was, what is this guy? Where Sandberg is like, okay, right now, I'll tell you this much. He's a high-end second pairing defenseman, an elite defensive defenseman. What will he become in terms of offensively or beyond that? We hope it's more, but here's a complicated part. If I'm Dylan Sandberg, I'm seeing the cap go up. Yes, I want to be in Winnipeg, but I got to make sure that I'm getting paid appropriately, because this is my big ticket. This is his entire financial future. And I think that there's a complexity to this negotiation that, because that will be punted to the summer. That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting. I do just want to say quickly on Dylan Sandberg, the Jets are 28-5-1 when he starts and finishes a game this year. That's a 137-point pace when Dylan Sandberg finishes the hockey game this year.
He's a horse.
Like, that's insane. That's absolutely unfathomable. Everything that you might have had questions about coming into training camp, Dylan Sandberg stepping into the top 4 role, they've all been squashed. Like, he's maybe even a top pairing guy on some teams. Like, this what we're seeing this season from Sandberg is truly unbelievable. Jacob, I do want to ask you, the Marcus Pettersson trade just happened to Vancouver, and then he signed for $5.5 million per season for the next 6 years. Now, Marcus Pettersson is a second pairing defenseman guy. His career high in points is 30. His career high in goals is 4. Dylan Sandberg has 4 goals this year.
How old is he?
Playing a lot of minutes. He's 28, and he signed for the next 6 years. Dylan Sandberg's 25. Do you think that might be a little bit of a comparable? Maybe Sandberg's younger, so he gets $6 million. But do you think the Jets and Sandberg can kind of work around that deal?
Yeah, probably. I think that's the range you're looking at, and that's to me a contract that he'll outperform.
100%. Yeah.
But keep in mind, I think in theory you can work around that. I just don't know exactly what his intentions are. Does he want the 7th or 8th year?
Right.
Like, did Patterson sign for 6 years?
Yeah.
Yes, 6 years, I believe. 5.5.
Okay. Does
season.
Sandberg want 5 years? Does he want 6? Like, is he a risk taker? Is he not? Like, there's so many things there that I just don't know. But if you're looking at Dylan Sandberg right now on a 6-year deal, absolutely that's the benchmark to start with.
Okay. Yeah. I the second I saw that deal, I thought of Dylan Sandberg, because Marcus Pettersson, very similar player to Dylan Sandberg, like very defensive minded, doesn't chip in a ton offensively, absolutely dominates his minutes because players just don't get into the middle of the ice when he's on the ice, and makes his team better, makes his defense core better. And 28-5-1 when Dylan Sandberg's in the lineup this year. Pretty incredible stuff.
Maybe Pionk, though, we could see. Maybe
really?
Pionk.
Okay. So if you guys had to say second, would it be Pionk? Like, second most likely to sign?
Who's the most likely?
Maybe.
I would say Sandberg. Who would you say is the most likely?
He thinks Appleton, eh?
I don't think anyone's getting signed at the break, guys. Like, I don't
really.
I think that they'll start. I think, I think they'll start negotiate or reach out. I don't think. Those
I
are happening.
I could see there being one in terms of like Appleton or whatever, just as like a vibe check thing to be like, hey guys, like this group is gonna stick together. We're gonna make this work, kind of thing. Like as a bit of a
Yeah.
like primer, I could see it, but only if it makes sense. And I don't know. I
Well,
still lean
Appleton's deal, it's
Sandberg is
like, we
most.
want this, sign me. Okay, cool. Done.
Yeah,
Whereas the other
Right,
ones
yeah.
are more, I don't think those are intense negotiations. It's just more so fit
like,
and preference.
and that's why it's like, yeah, like the Pionk one is gonna be complicated. The Velarde one's gonna be complicated. The Sandberg one will probably be complicated as well. And not like anyone's being a diva, anyone's having problems. It's just like these are gonna be bigger ticket contracts for sure. So
Yeah. And the complexity of it just grew with the cap rising, right? Like these next 3 years, the cap going up 15 million or whatever it is, being 114 million 3 years from now. That changes things a lot because Dylan Sandberg, before that report came out, maybe we were thinking 8 years, 5 million. Well, now that might be 6. That might be 6.5 if you want to pay him that long because the cap's going to go up so much that cap hit against the percentage it counts against the cap for the Winnipeg Jets is going to go down year after year, right? So that'll be interesting to see. I felt it was valuable to bring up because when Elliot Friedman writes things at sportsnet.ca in his 32 thoughts, he says things on 32 thoughts, the podcast. He's usually pretty right. He's usually pretty plugged in. So I think that was valuable. Let's get to trending up, trending down. Guys, I hope you have your picks. And I will just say, next week on WST Sunday Live, make sure you join us next week and make sure you hit the like button while you're here. It's going to be a little dicey in terms of our picks, I would think, because no Winnipeg Jets games. I think we're going to have to get pretty creative. I will just say that with this week coming up, and we are going to preview the Four Nations, Drew Doughty was the player that was named to replace Alex Pietrangelo and could play with Josh Morrissey. We could see that pairing play together. So that'll be really interesting. But drop your comments down below who you have for trending up, down, and we will, and while you're down there, hit the like button. We would really appreciate it. I'm just trying to find out who we said last week so that we can play by the rules here.
Sandberg, DeMello, Niederreiter.
Okay, perfect. So Gustafsson, Sandberg, DeMello, and Niederreiter are off the board. Let's get to it. This is Trending Up, Trending Down, a segment where we outline who is trending up or down for the Winnipeg Jets over the past week. The rules are simple. Both of us will pick a player who has been trending up or down, and we cannot repeat an answer that has already been said. We also can't repeat any answer that was said last week. Last week, as Lyss just said, we said Sandberg, DeMello, Niederreiter, and Gustafsson. So those players are off the board. All of you who have joined us here live on YouTube, hit the chat room and let us know your picks as well for trending up or trending down. Jacob, you're going to go last for trending up so that you can go first for trending down. We're going to switch up the order. Man. Got you. No problem. Lyss, do you want to go first for trending up and then last for trending down? Or do you want?
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, then I'll start with the slam dunk. My trending up is Cole Perfetti. I think that I'm loving what I'm seeing from him lately. It's a good week for him. And I think goes without saying, we talked a little bit about him earlier in the episode, so we won't dive into it too much. Cole Perfetti gets my trending up. Really like what I'm seeing from him. And to the name of the segment, I also think it's continuing in a positive trajectory, and we'll hopefully continue to see him trending up, for lack of better terms.
Trending up. Nice. I'm going to go with Rasmus Kupari, who scored a massive goal against the Carolina Hurricanes in the third period, was initially waved off. Ended up being a goal because of Matt Prefontaine, which would be
trending up Matt Prefontaine.
Which would be a good pick. Jacob can go in that direction if he wants. But I'm going to take Rasmus Kupari. With Adam Lowry out of the lineup, you'd think that third line would crater. It hasn't. And Rasmus Kupari has been a big part of that. I'm not saying he's Adam Lowry. He's not providing the same value, but he has been very good in his minutes and scored a big goal against the Carolina Hurricanes in a big game. And is forechecking really well, doing a lot for the Winnipeg Jets at 5-on-5. So my answer is Rasmus Kupari. Jacob, who do you have for trending up?
Who was the third guy we can't say except for Sandberg and Gustafsson?
DeMello
and Niederreiter.
Okay, perfect. Trending up, Alex Iafallo.
I knew you were going to say that.
Alex Iafallo is playing unbelievable hockey. As Gabe Larry said, his mitts are nasty. Don't underrate them. But, honestly, I've been a huge Iafallo fan for a long time. I've been banging that drum for a while. I think he is actually a Swiss Army knife. I think that term is used a little too loosely in today's NHL. It's like one guy can play penalty kill and power play. Oh, they're a Swiss Army knife. No, Iafallo can actually play top six, bottom six, power
Yeah.
play in a bumper role. He could kill penalties, forecheck, excellent at 5-on-5. Love the guy, and he's been amazing. A lot of chances in front of the net over the last 8 or so games. Al is my pick.
Yeah. I know you're a big Alex Iafallo fan. You once asked me if I was gaining a deeper appreciation for Alex Iafallo's game. Like
And you burst out laughing.
Yes, because it was very philosophical and very, I don't know, very like
You're not entertained.
outspoken
He's the man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jacob, you get to go first for trending down as well because you went last for trending up. We're switching the order up. So who's your trending down pick this week? It's tough on an 8-game winning streak.
This is a hard one.
Okay. I got one.
Okay.
Pionk.
Okay. Why? Go for it.
I think there's been a little bit like I love Pionk. I also think that this game we're playing, unfortunately, we've got to throw strays when like maybe I wouldn't want to, but I would say the last like 2 weeks, like I haven't been, I don't want to say blown away, but there hasn't been a lot of signature P plays, like Pionk just killing a play, nailing a guy. Haven't seen it as much, and that's kind of the first guy that came to mind for me, but still a fan.
Still a fan. Lyss, who you got? Trending down.
I'm last.
You're last, right? Okay, I'm gonna go. I want to say it, but I'm gonna get like the pitchforks are gonna be in the chat. I'm gonna say it. Connor Hellebuyck trending down. He let in 4 goals against the Washington. Yes. Okay, ready?
I messed with it. It's funny. Keep it up.
Ready for my explanation?
You have my full support.
Yeah, I'm like clip it and just tweet it and burn your career.
Last week, he had the 4-goal outing against the Washington Capitals where, look, Alex Ovechkin may be the greatest goal scorer of all time, but that goal that we saw him score to tie the game from like the blue line, unscreened, untipped, Hellebuyck saves that 99 times out of 100, right? Then this game against the Islanders, Hellebuyck was fantastic in the third period, but the first goals of the game, first of all, okay, the Jets turn the puck over, it's wide open in the slot. The guy straight up whiffed on the backhand, and I don't know, Connor Hellebuyck was just like out of position. I don't even know. Like, again, we just don't see that from Connor Hellebuyck. I'm not saying Connor Hellebuyck is like, there's nothing to be concerned about. I'm just saying there were a few goals this week in the Washington game and in the Islanders game where he was just like slightly out of position, and we just haven't seen that. And like the second goal in the Islanders game, we don't see Connor Hellebuyck let that in ever. And when that went in, it was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. And he had the full week off. I know Connor Hellebuyck's better in rhythm when he plays a lot of games and gets a lot of shots, but I'm going to go Connor Hellebuyck.
Breaking, Connor Hellebuyck is human.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but that's the name of the game though, Jacob, is that
he's a 930 he's a 930
it's trending up, trending down based on what our expectation is of you as a person. This was not his best week of his career.
True.
Like Connor Hellebuyck can only trend down. He only like so far this season, like that's the reality though. Like he's a 9
trending up is being on lists with guys named Tiny Thompson, and like that's just how.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, bad week.
Connor Hellebuyck can't be immune to it as well. Like I'm gonna say he should be in the Hart Trophy conversation. Him and Leon Draisaitl. He should win the Vezina by far. He had a tough game on Friday night. He had a tough game last Saturday against Washington. Like we can't just sit here and be like, oh, all is well. Connor Hellebuyck made every single save. Like I don't know.
Fair.
I don't know. Anyways, Lyss, go ahead.
Your turn, Lyss.
I took the bullet so that you could take maybe an easier one. I don't know.
I will take the easiest one.
Selfless guy.
I fear I may have to go with Logan Stanley. I don't really
have trending down a lot.
Again, for his bar, maybe not. I just genuinely.
Okay.
What else should I say? I have no issue with anybody on the top line right now. No, not Mason Appleton. That's my boy. Mason Appleton's been kind of. I like him. We said DeMello Niederreiter last week. Like a couple of guys that So I'm just going to go with Logan Stanley just in terms of we're getting closer to the trade deadline. I agree with you that I think there is some upgrade to be made there that they are looking at as well. I mean, I agree with you, as in I agree with Jacob, that I think that in their perfect world, he doesn't play playoff games either unless he has to. I think his leash is not shortening yet, but I do think that we are maybe in the trending down phase. Guys, I am scraping for things here because this team has been playing pretty
Again.
well lately. So I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
it. I'm so sorry, Logan. It's not personal. It never is. Never for you. But
Again, it's an 8-game winning streak. Like like you said, we're gonna have to nitpick. We're gonna have to go off the board. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
I have
Let's
an
go ahead.
interesting thought, actually. Sorry, I just Jared in the chat is saying, call me Liz, but Liz is right. Shopping Stanley, he will be traded. I never even really thought about it in that way of like, what if like there's a team out there that
No.
is like,
Nah.
I think that's putting too much confidence
never
in the
know.
Jets. Like that they're like playing him to showcase him to up his
No,
value to
no.
trade
Sorry,
him.
that's
Like,
not what I mean. I don't
okay.
mean that. I just mean that there might be like, I think they're playing him because they're like, yeah, like again, all of those things that
They
we
think
said
he's
before.
the best
But there
option.
could be another team out there that's like, we need this guy as our 7th defenseman to come in and be 6'7", and we're willing to trade a second for him.
Mhm.
Maybe.
What?
Maybe.
A second round, guys?
I'm kidding.
No.
I don't know.
I know.
Okay.
No.
If we showed someone the last 5 minutes of this show and made them guess how many wins the Jets have in a row, they would say like 13. Like this is
I know.
so tough,
This is
people.
yeah.
Anyways.
That's true. Fair enough.
Anyways, this was trending up or down, more up than down as of late, as you can tell. Thank you everyone for taking part in the chat, ripping us for our takes. We really appreciate it. Hit the like button while you're down there. Or hit the dislike button. Honestly, all PR is good PR, right, folks? So if you hate my Connor Hellebuyck take, let me hear it in the comment section below. But this is the content you can expect every single WST Sunday Live. Before we get to the burning question segment, where everyone's just going to ask us like where we watch hockey and how bad our takes are, let's preview the Four Nations. Starts this week with Canada Sweden on Wednesday night. They just named Drew Doughty to be Team Canada's replacement for Alex Pietrangelo. Quinn Hughes might not play for Team USA. He's a question mark. Sidney Crosby might not play for Team Canada. Apparently, it's up to him if he wants to play, which, just reading the tea leaves on that, I think Crosby's going to be playing. Like, if it's up to him and he's really, good enough to play, I think he'll be playing. But has your guys' excitement level risen over the last, let's say, week for the Four Nations? And now that we're officially on the break and that's all the hockey that we have to look forward to in this market, Liz.
Well, that is an important part of it too, because yeah, I'm just gonna be starved.
Right.
But I think one thing that has gotten me a little bit excited about it is the fact that Alex Pietrangelo did this whole thing of like basically pulling an Alex Ovechkin with the All-Star game and just saying, I'm not playing. The fact that nobody else followed suit makes me think that these guys are kind of locked in on this, which makes me think that we might be getting some good hockey. Because I think there were a couple guys that probably could have pulled a similar card, been like, oh, laboring injuries, all these sorts of things, even though Alex Pietrangelo is playing 24 minutes a night with Vegas or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, it's a bit of a silly thing, but like, it's a guy who's like, yeah, like, I want to win a Stanley Cup. I'm not worried about some silly tournament, which I understand in theory, but the fact that nobody else did that makes me think that the give a shit meter is pretty high for a lot of these guys. So I'm interested for sure. Not a lot of other hockey to watch over the next little bit. Gotta shout out the Manitoba Moose game coming up today. There's obviously some other hockey that you can watch, but if you want to watch your favorite NHL stars, if you want to watch some Winnipeg Jets, all you can do over the next little bit is watch Four Nations. So I'm excited. I'm interested. I think it'll be like, I don't want to say I'm as locked in as you are, Connor, but I'm also not one of those people who's like, this is a stupid tournament, I'm not watching at all. Right. I'll be there. I'm interested for sure.
For sure. We asked this to the chat, and Jacob asked me this last week, and I want to ask you, Liz, and I'll ask the chat again, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the Four Nations tournament?
Hard 7. Hard 7.
Jacob, you were 6.5 last week. Still 6.5? A little higher, a little lower?
Maybe a little lower. 6.
Jacob's like, shut up. He's so sick of us today.
I just don't care that much about this tournament. Like, the closer it's coming, I'm like, I'm going to tune in, but I'm not like amped yet. I don't know.
Okay.
Four Nations facing off.
Here's a better question.
Four Nations.
If
this side.
Whoever wins the Four Nations, will they throw their gloves off and helmet if they win?
Yes. I think so.
Yep.
After a week tournament? That's so artificial.
Dude, I think it's gonna be Canada US in the final, right?
I hope so.
It's gonna be an intense game.
I'd be so amped for that. If there was a USA Canada final, I would be so excited for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I think a lot of the flaws with the tournament that people want to point out are valid. Like you brought it up last week, Jacob. Is there enough time in a week-long tournament to make, lasting hockey memories? And that's what, international best on best or top teams tournaments are all about. The Olympics, World Cups, whatever. You want to make these hockey memories. Is there enough time in a week to do that? I'm okay with that. You're leaving some of the best players in the world at home. It's not true best on best. It is a version of best on best because we're getting Canada, US, and Sweden. But I don't know. I'm pretty amped. I think watching maybe Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, and Makar all on the ice at the same time just gets me fired up as a hockey fan. And I will say, I said last week, Jacob, that I was at a 12 out of 10. If Crosby doesn't play,
I was thinking the same thing. If Crosby doesn't play, I'm a little lower too.
I might go down to like I'm still super amped for the tournament.
You're at 11.
I might go down to like
to
10.5. I'd be under 10. I might be at like 8.5 or 9 if Crosby doesn't play, because most of it
That's
is
a
like
lot of
seeing
percentage
Crosby
points for one guy.
But like Crosby playing with
Yeah.
McDavid and McKinnon is like the old and the new era, right? Like that's
If Crosby
kind of
has 0 fans, I'm dead. I totally agree with you on
Yeah,
that.
although we should mention that Darren Dreger tweeted out yesterday that if Crosby misses, or any other Canadian forward for that matter, Mark Scheifele is getting the call, and he's going to be the forward that fills in.
So then if he doesn't, he will have ruined his vacation for nothing.
Yeah, he'll just be chilling
when he was
in
leaving.
Winnipeg for 2 weeks.
Him and his goats.
Him and his
Yeah.
goats. Yeah.
Dude, you can call Sunwing and book an all-inclusive tomorrow if you want to. It's fine. He can go.
True.
Is this a Sunwing ad?
Wait, isn't Point banged up too?
Sorelli
Is not.
Sorelli. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys are day-to-day. Like, Sorelli's day-to-day. Marner was, but played last night for the Leafs. Crosby, everything they've said has led everyone to believe that he's day-to-day, and he can, maybe push through it for the tournament. But yeah, I think it would be exciting to watch Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey go up against Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuyck, especially when Connor Hellebuck's trending down. Like, Canada's got to capitalize, right?
Everyone,
Guys, I just can't see it coming to be that Scheifele gets. I don't know if those guys are injured like that bad. I don't know. I think
Crosby's going to push through it. There's videos of him like skating and passing. He just hasn't really like shot pucks in practice yet, and like I don't know. I think he's going to.
Crosby's deciding he's going. That's just a fact. I think even if he ends up being the 13th forward, he's going.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think he'll be there. Vibes guy. He'll be the Joe Thornton of the San Jose Sharks for Team Canada if he doesn't play. He'll just be the vibes guy.
Vibes guy
payroll for that.
For sure. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up in relation to the Four Nations face-off, or should we move on? Is that it?
Nice jersey.
Right? I'm getting thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, and Huss got his Royal Sports, his Josh Morrissey one. He's pretty proud of that thing. So
yeah. My defense is that I already have a Josh Morrissey heritage jersey, so I didn't want to, double up on JMO, even though that would be pretty sick. And that jersey did look really nice. On Huss.
Should have gotten a Mark Scheifele one, just like lock in.
And just like pray that he holds.
Just pray that he makes it.
No, dude,
someone's
that's
gonna get hurt.
My boy. I one day I want to meet him and I want to shake his hand because I see him. I used to see him at like almost every Jets game. The guy who went and got a custom Mark Scheifele 45 jersey. It must have been after Mark Scheifele wore 45 in his first year training camp. He's like, this guy is making the roster, and he went and he got that jersey made. And obviously, Mark Scheifele never wore 45 in the NHL. But I'm like, you know what? I like the commitment to the prospect, and turns out you were right, dude. He is pretty sick. So
yeah. And I know everyone in chat is a fan of the Winnipeg Jets. How far do you take it with the rooting against Jets players? Like, I think if the US is in the final against like Sweden or something, you want to see Hellebuyck and Connor play well. I'm not going to go as far to say you want to see them win, because I think if there was one team that I didn't want to win this tournament, it would be the US.
My hatred for the USA trumps my enjoyment of anything else in this, or hatred for anything else in this tournament for sure.
100% agree. 100% agree. Like, the US could lose to Finland and I'd be like smiling ear to ear.
Is that weird how you
and-
go from like 1 week cheering for Connor Hellebuyck and then you go the next week wanting him to lose?
Why do you think I
It's
picked
weird.
him for trending down? I'm in his head. This
Yeah.
this
That's funny.
I mean, hey, you want to look at the playoff numbers? I could bring it up. Just gonna say, I'm kidding. Connor Hellebuyck's
Shut up.
incredible.
We're done here. We're done here.
I'm done. Let's get to one burning question, which might be extra hot today because we are
We're on a
unleashing
roll.
hot takes. I know. Big picture show. There wasn't that much to talk about off the top, so there's a lot left to be desired here. This is one burning question, a segment where we throw it to you, the chat, for any question that you may have for us regarding the Winnipeg Jets. We are going to attempt to rapid fire through these questions, so get in the chat room quickly and drop them down below. And while you're down there, hit the like button. We would really appreciate it. And it lets YouTube know that we are putting out some great content as of late. And maybe it can find a few extra Jets fans as well with the boost. I'm going to ask you both if you have any plan. Okay, we didn't talk about it all show, but there is a football game today if anyone cares. Who do you guys think is going to win today? Super Bowl Sunday. Lyss, go ahead. Chiefs?
Chiefs three-peat.
Chiefs.
I see it
think so
coming.
too.
I think the only my big wild card question mark is Saquon. I think Saquon has the potential to put this game on his back and take it for the Eagles. But I feel it. They're somehow. I'm so tired. People with this whole refs thing, it genuinely has turned the Chiefs into a little bit of an underdog in their own stupid way, like whatever. So I think there's enough motivation on their side to become one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history. I think they're able to pull it off today. I think the Chiefs win. I am rooting for the Eagles though, if anyone cares.
Okay. Jacob, who do you think's going to win today? Super Bowl
I'm just
Sunday.
there for the food, but Chiefs.
Just there for the food. Chiefs, yeah. I think the Chiefs are going to win, and don't tell Huss, but I'm kind of rooting for the Chiefs too. Like when the
Huss has gotten to
49ers,
you.
I know, when the 49ers aren't the team that they're beating in the Super Bowl, it's a lot easier to step back and be like, wow, this is greatness. This is a dynasty, you know? And I also really do not like the Philadelphia Eagles and their coach, Nick Sirianni. I do not want to see him win anything. So
I like Jalen Hurts. That's my issue. I love Jalen Hurts.
Awesome,
I'd love to see Jalen Hurts get a Super Bowl.
I love Saquon Barkley too. It's tough. I don't know if I'll be rooting for the Chiefs. I'll be rooting for an overtime or like a close game, you know? Rooting for a good game.
Gross.
Rooting for a good game. That's the most old head answer. But anyways.
No, that was me with them. That was me with the AFC Championship because I was like, obviously since I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm like, I hate the Bills so much and I don't want the Chiefs to win either. And I was kind of joking around. And I was like, I'm hoping that they're just so beat up that whoever comes in gets crushed by the Eagles because don't like them.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You root for a good game.
Exactly. Let's get to some of the questions. Everyone's already on me. Why do you hate Hellebuyck? Why do you hate I don't hate Connor Hellebuyck. Well, actually, for these next 2 weeks, maybe. Is anyone going to Cirque du Soleil during the break? I will say, not Cirque du Soleil related, but there's 6 Moose home games. If you're not a fan of the Four Nations, and you want to be down at Canada
Cirque du Soleil make you pivot to the Moose?
Dude, hockey's on my mind 24/7. Like anything can be pivoted to hockey. Anything.
I'll take you one step further. Anything can be pivoted to the Manitoba Moose.
Oh my god.
Exactly. Which player being traded from the realistic options would damage the chemistry of the team right now? I think this is a good question. Lyss.
Interesting.
Who are we going to establish as the realistic options?
Well, okay, I think that's a very, very fair point because I think there are so few guys in this team that could possibly be traded. I'm gonna go with the kind of maybe low hanging fruit, Nikolai Ehlers, pending UFA. I think there is any pending UFA is a possibility. I think that would ruin things for this team.
If they traded Ehlers,
I just don't
it would
see it.
Be a catastrophic effect on that team chemistry.
And I believe that's so strongly that it's not going to happen. But I do think it is a realistic option. Maybe a little bit less of a realistic, like maybe Alex Iafallo. Because if you're trying to make some really big splash, free up some cap. I know the Jets have a lot of cap, but another pending UFA, whatever. I think that one would impact the team chemistry as well, just because he is playing well right now, and it's the sort of thing where it's like, you know, when you scratch a guy who's playing really good hockey for, you know, some other guy, like it's not a great vibe. I think that would also be hard for the vibes too. But Nikolai Ehlers is my answer for this one for sure.
I 100% agree, because if you trade anyone off that top power play unit, you are significantly damaging
Yeah.
your chances to win a playoff series, multiple playoff rounds, the Stanley Cup, whatever you want to. Whatever.
It's a
you
good
wanna say.
question,
So,
though.
yeah, it is. One burning question, Comrie podcast. The Eric Comrie interview with Huss this week. If you haven't checked it out, do it right after this show. It's incredible. Eric Comrie is always a great interview. And he's psyched for the Four Nations. And he also was kind of turning the tables on Huss, asking Huss a few questions, who he thinks is going to win. And yeah, at the end said he might start a podcast one day and have Hustler on as a guest. So we will be there if Eric Comrie starts a podcast. That is for sure. Big championship today for Manitoba curling. Nice. What is
Guys, Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live Sunday curling. I will be giving you your curling updates when the Scotties and the Briar are on. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it.
Okay.
Lock in on curling.
Let's do it.
Brett Lang and Jennifer Jones were at the Jets game the other day, and I saw them on TV, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, it was on TV. Okay, yeah. Sweet. Speaking of being on TV, hold on. Lyss, you were on TV before the game.
Apparently.
On Friday. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you guys have seen
Wait,
The
you were?
Office. Yeah, apparently. I don't know.
They did have
but
men?
I genuinely
No.
Pardon me?
How are you
Go
on
ahead.
TV?
I'll explain in a second, but I just need to preface this by saying, like, in The Office when Ryan Howard creates that website called Woof,
Woof.
and I was like, that's actually how it felt the second that happened on the Jets broadcast. Like, I got like 10 Instagram DMs, like a bunch of tweets, a bunch of texts. I was like, what is going on? Because I wasn't watching the game at all.
Woof.
But literally, that's what it was like. I was like, what the heck? I was on the TSN broadcast because they were plugging the Manitoba Moose Women in Sport Job Shadow program that I did last year. That was so fun. And if you follow me on any socials, you know that I think the world of that program. I think the world of the Manitoba Moose team. It is such a fun program. I had such a good experience and I learned so much about it. And to the point that, who knows, maybe there could even possibly be a feature episode on that entire program in my podcast that I'm putting out in the next couple weeks. Who knows? Like maybe that's a possibility.
Cool?
I'm not sure. That might be crazy, but so that was really cool to get a bunch of messages about that. Apparently my hair looked good in it. That's what I heard. So that's all I know about my appearance on the TSN broadcast this week.
Yeah, it would have been brutal if like you were on there, but they just like violated you. Like the camera was at like a terrible, you just weren't paying attention. Like, well, yeah, I don't know. Who is the ideal right-hand defenseman the Jets could trade for that could play with Morrissey and bump DeMello to the third pair? Lyss, Jacob? Is Rasmus Ristolainen?
Rasmus Ristolainen.
I guess. I mean, like I like what Connor used to say about Uyghur would be like the perfect acquisition.
No, guys,
but like
it's Jonathan Kovacevic.
Yeah, it's Kobe. It's bringing back Kobe.
Yeah.
I think Risto's kind of the play. I don't know. I mean, Chevy's been able to get some out. Like, actually, I will say one person thought about this before.
Okay.
I don't know if they have got Winnipeg on their no trade list. Statistically, it probably would say that they do. They have a modified no trades, but Brian Carlo.
Interesting.
Bruins
Awesome.
are, I think, will be selling. I think they have to. Another Bruin I think that the Jets would be interested in is Morgan Geekie, Manitoba native, as a middle six center. But Brandon Carlo would be probably the exact archetype of what they want beside Morrissey. And that would help everyone trickle down a notch more so than Risto. Risto to me is just a stylistic upgrade on what DeMello does with a bit more size. Carlo would be a big swing. Don't think it'll happen, just if history tells us anything, but that would be the ideal one for me.
I like that. I'm going right back to you, Jacob. Could you see the Jets moving key player like Vlad to get a big return? You brought this up to me a few weeks ago.
I did bring this up. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying to Connor on the way to the rink that the Jets have never traded a roster player in a deal. Like Lemieux for the Hayes one, but he was very second fiddle. And I think that when you're a Stanley Cup team to make uncomfortable decisions, I think trading Vlad would just be. Vlad wouldn't be a means to getting that piece. I think he'd be involved in if there was an overcrowding. I don't know what it is, but I could not see the Jets doing that.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening. I think that maybe should consider trading a lot of people if they need to make it work, but it's just not really in their DNA.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Is the halftime show going to be any good? Kendrick Lamar, SZA? We excited for that at least? Okay.
I actually have a crazy take on this because I've been talking about this where usually
Crazy
I feel like I think this is the best Super Bowl lineup in terms of relevant modern artists that we've had in a long time. I feel like oftentimes the Super Bowl is performed by people who are kind of on the backside of their career, people who are like, had a lot of hype a few years ago, sort of thing. This is like peak of their career artists right now. Like Kendrick and SZA are like, Kendrick just won like 3 Grammys the other day. Like this is
I
like
think it was
peak,
like
peak,
5.
peak.
Yeah.
I think he
Something
won
like
3
that,
on
yeah.
the like the show on the broadcast or whatever, and then like
Oh,
2
and then
off or
2
something like
off.
that. I don't know. Yeah, he won a ton of Grammys though. Like he won a bunch
Yeah.
for a diss track, which is iconic in and of itself. But I think it's gonna be such a good halftime show today. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, I am excited for that too. I mean, the Super Bowl is entertaining as much as we want to say that it's maybe not as entertaining as years past. It's still gonna be fun, and yeah, a lot of people excited, cheering for the Eagles, rooting for Saquon Barkley, doing the Eagles chant. Yeah, no Huss today, so you're not gonna get any pushback on that for sure. Let me just quickly browse, see if there's any more questions that maybe we missed. There is a lot of questions, and we are going pretty long on time today. So maybe we'll just wrap it there. Yeah, that's thank you everyone though for submitting your questions for one burning question. We did go a little bit long today, so thank you for sticking it out with us. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss WST Sunday live every single Sunday. And when you hit that like button, maybe it shows it to a few extra Jets fans, and we would really appreciate that. On the way out, do you guys have any Super Bowl plans today? Just kicking back, watching the game?
Watch with my best friends. That's about it.
Me too. Lyss,
Yeah,
same thing.
me too. Sitting down with the boys, sorting some food in, and vegging out. So it'll be good. That's how God intended, though. So
what's the best Super Bowl snack?
Wings.
Yeah, 100%. No pushback from me on that.
Lyss?
Lyss?
So I am a wings hater, but it's because I hate finger food. I don't like it when like sauce gets on my fingers. I want something I can eat with a fork. I don't like putting my
boneless
fingers
wings.
Do you eat
yeah,
pizza
boneless wings?
Cut it.
Munch them, yeah, but that's just chicken
Okay.
nuggets, so I don't know.
Do you eat pizza with your hands or cutlery?
Pizza I will eat with my hands if it's like if I can hold on to the part, it's not like gross. Like if it's like a messier pizza, I'll eat it with a fork and a knife, but I don't like getting sauce on my fingers. Like, ugh, gross.
Fair enough.
Fair
enough.
So
I don't know.
That's why I'm like kind of anti-wings, but I get it. For like the Super Bowl, it's kind of for the vibes, so I get it. I bought like some like flatbreads and stuff like that I think we're gonna eat today. So
nice. Jacob, what's the second best Super Bowl snack? We're doing a full tier list.
Second best snack. I would say chips and guac is a big fave for mine.
Yeah.
Get some spring rolls for the boys tonight. That's what I'm bringing for a potluck. Yeah.
I like spring rolls. They're good.
Yeah. You know what? My contribution year after year to this Super Bowl party with the same people is a prop bet sheet. It's actually so much fun. So I have this Google sheet
we did one for this for the
where I have like
halftime show.
I don't know, 20 of these random props on the game, and everyone like pitches in $5 and you circle each one, and then if you hit, like whoever wins gets all the money. It's fun. It's a fun way to watch the game, and it's not like it's $5 and you're betting it against the people in the same room as you. Like it's
and I like guessing like the Gatorade color and just like random things like that.
Yeah,
but
that's
for those
hilarious.
We did a prop
you into,
bet
like
sheet.
Anthem time. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Over 90.5 seconds or whatever it is. No, this year we did a big one for the halftime show because we're a big Kendrick Lamar household or whatever. So if SZA's first song is 30 for 30, and if Kendrick ends with Not Like Us, I'm a big winner. So
ends with Not Like Us. Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll see when he plays that. And I've heard, there's like a big surprise coming. This leak comes out every single year for the Super Bowl.
It's Drake.
This is the big surprise, guys.
Yeah,
it's Drake with Kendrick doing They Don't Like Us.
Could you imagine? Yeah. Drake singing
they're
Not
gonna
Like Us.
Kill him on stage or something. Like it's.
Could you imagine?
Someone gets shot.
Drake.
Literally. Oh my god, yeah, that would be something else.
The big surprise is going to be like Mustard coming out or something,
right?
Like
it's big surprise, like to who, right? That's
maybe like Roddy Ricch or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
go from there.
Yeah. I will just say, when is Lowry back? We didn't touch on this. All signs are pointing to him coming back when the Four Nations break is up. So just wanted to get that in there before we wrapped the show. Same with Morgan Barron. I mean, we'll hear from Scott O'Neill when they come back from the break, but Adam Lowry and Morgan Barron, we're both week to week. They'll now have 2 weeks off to rest and recover. Expect them back in that first game, February 22nd. We shall see. That's going to do it for WST Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for sticking it out with us. Longer show today. A lot of big picture topics as we head into the Four Nations break. Enjoy the Canada games this week if you do like the Four Nations face-off. If you don't, head on down to Canada Life Center. Watch the Manitoba Moose. I think they have 5 home games starting today. I believe it's at 2 o'clock today. So starting today, they have 5 straight home games. They had one
today,
yesterday as well. It's at 1 o'clock today. Okay, sweet. So 1 o'clock today, if you want to check out the Manitoba Moose, a lot of home games this week. There you go. Yeah. And enjoy the week off of cheering for the first place Winnipeg Jets, who are on an 8-game winning streak. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next Sunday on WST Sunday Live after Canada USA, which is Saturday night. We'll be here on the Sunday. So I'll be ready to take my victory lap when the players are going all out and caring. Let's just say that. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next Sunday. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the Super Bowl and enjoy the week without the Winnipeg Jets. See you, everyone. Peace.